Welcome back everyone to Technical English. Now in today's session we are going to have a quick look at Unit 3 comparisons. This unit deals with making comparisons. Okay, so we are going to be looking at adjectives, comparative and superlative forms. Our first task here is road signs. What you see here is 6 different signs and we will have to match them with what they tell you. So you've got width limit, weight limit for weak bridge, weight limit for a lorry, safe height limit below an electrical cable, height limit and length limit for a lorry. And we will have to match them. If you look at road sign letter A, you will see 7.5 tons. And this will be, of course, the weight limit for a lorry or truck. B, 4.4 meters will be the height limit or height limit. I prefer height limit. C will be, of course, width, so how wide a vehicle is allowed to be. And D will be the length limit for a lorry, so how long they can be. There you've got in E, safe height 5.3 meters. So that is, of course, the safe height limit. And surprise, surprise, weak bridge is weight limit for a weak bridge. So C, F, A, E, B, D. Hopefully you guessed that one right. Okay, the next task was a listening task that we have completed in the class. So as always, we're not going to spend time on it right here, as well as the conversations with the missing letters. Not really, don't need to spend much time on those tasks. Now here we've got a Super Ferries web page and we will have to read the text and decide which vehicles in the picture can board the ferry. So that will be the next slide. Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to pause the video and read through the text. If you have the worksheets with you, then please look at the next page and choose the types of vehicles and whether they are allowed to get on this ferry or not based on the description here. So vehicle type A is high car. Can it travel? Yes. Vehicle type 2. The second one here is car and trailer, and it will not be allowed to travel. Large car, no. In our next one, and in number 4, we have got a different type of large car, but as you can see, the dimensions are different, of 5 meters length and 1.85 height, and they will be allowed to travel on the super ferry. Okay, so this was our reading comprehension task. Let's move on with some more reading. In our next task here, we will have to read these descriptions and match them with the correct parts of the diagram. Now, as you will see, there might be some new words, but as I always say, don't worry about new words. Okay, if I really want to make this task, the instructions to this task, as simple as possible, I would say find the numbers, okay, the same measurements that you will see in the diagrams in the text, and you've got your answer. So number 1, the distance from the point of articulation at the front of a semi-trailer to the furthest projection must be inside a radius of 1.9 meters. Even if you look at words like articulation, projection, radius, and so on and so on, the most important part of this text for us is 1.9 meters. So we look at our diagrams and we will see that right there in C, we've got point of articulation, 1.9 meter radius. Okay. Number 2, the distance between the coupling pivot point and the drawbar of the dog trailer and the center of the front single axle of the trailer must not be over 5 meters, right? Pivot point 5 meters, and so on and so on. This will be F, okay? So 5 meters drawbar length. Number 3, a load on a vehicle must not project more than 1.2 meters in front of a vehicle. Okay, so in front of 1.2 meters, this is actually the example number 3 you will see with diagram A. Number 4, the distance from the point of articulation front of the trailer to A, the rear overhang line must not be over 9.5 meters, and 2, the rear of the trailer must not be over 12.3 meters. Okay, once again, we can just focus on the numbers here, 12.3, 9.5. We will see diagram B will be number 4 right here. Number 5, on a trailer carrying cars on more than one deck, the distance between the rear overhang line and the rear of the rearmost car on the trailer must not exceed 4.9 meters. A vehicle that is built to carry cars on 2 or more decks must not be over 4.6 meters when loaded. Right, so over here, this will be E right here. If we only read a trailer carrying cars, we can easily just stop there and see which diagram shows a lorry or truck carrying cars. Well, it's clearly E. Right, so that was our answer. Number 6 is D, of course, that's the only one left there. Looks like we are missing the description for number 6. But nevertheless, now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we are going to focus on measurements, dimensions, and adjectives. Okay, now we are going to be looking at how to compare things. Okay, here we have the comparative forms of adjectives. If you look at the examples in blue, you will see longer, wider, okay, noisier, bigger, wider again, and easier. Okay, the important thing is when you compare two things, you will always have to use than. Okay, so higher than, longer than, bigger than. And then there are a couple of spelling rules that you have to keep in mind. Okay, if the adjective is a shorter one, okay, so single syllable adjectives, okay, we will just add er, so longer, wider, and so on. Okay, the spelling will sometimes change, so big, bigger, thin, thinner. These are called CVC, adjectives, consonant, vowel, consonant, or we can just say if there is a short vowel in the middle, you will double the last letter, so hence big, bigger, and bigger is spelled with double G, okay? The same way thin and thinner, double N in that case. However, with great, okay, there's no doubling of the word final consonant, so greater or greatest will not double the last T. Now, there are, of course, irregular ones which don't follow the rule. So here we got better, worse, farther, further, more or less. Okay, and then what we have to keep in mind is with longer adjectives, 3 syllables that is, so dangerous, 3 parts, dangerous, we will not add er, so we can never say dangerous. That would be too long. So instead we will add more or most with the superlatives before the adjective. So we will say more expensive, more dangerous, more exciting, and so on and so on. All right, and a couple of more examples here. The lorry is too wide for the bridge is not wide enough. This will be a separate session too or not enough. For now, we don't need to go into more details than that. Right, let's take a look at the task. Instead, write the comparative form of the adjectives in brackets in the spaces. Write either one or two words in each space. So at 1.83 meters, the Toyota Land Cruiser is something high, so the correct form of the adjective high, then the Jeep Cherokee. So here we got then the Jeep Cherokee, so we will know we need to use a comparative form, higher than the Jeep Cherokee. It also has, oh, well, I really revealed it already, and powerful is a longer adjective, so powerful, 3 syllables or 3 parts. We will use more, okay? It has a more powerful engine and a something wheelbase than the Jeep. So again, we are comparing it to the Jeep, longer wheelbase than the Jeep. The Toyota's fuel tank is bigger and it has a something maximum speed than the Jeep. Faster, of course, faster, fastest. But the Toyota is something expensive than the Jeep. Of course, comparing again, expensive is a longer adjective, so we will say is more expensive than the Jeep and consumes more fuel. Right, here we go now, moving on to number 8. What we have to do here is explain the problem. Height of the bridge 2.7 meters, height of lorry 2.9. So the lorry is too high for the bridge. Width of a ship 12.2 meters and the width of the canal is 11.5 meters. So what seems to be the problem here? Well, the ship is wider than the canal itself. Okay, so we can say the ship is too wide for the canal, or the canal is not wide enough for the ship. Length of plane 19.3 meters, length of hangar 18.8 meters. So of course the plane is too high for the hangar, or the hangar is not. Oh, there's a mistake here, so ignore this one, guys. Instead of high, just write long. The plane is too long, or the hangar is not long enough. CD is too wide. The box is not wide enough for the CD. In the next one, where you see diameter of the CD. Thickness of coin, okay, 3 millimeters. Width of slot 2.88. The coin is too thick for the slot, or the slot is not thick enough. Length of screw 5.5, length of hole 4.35. The screw is too long, or the hole is not long enough for the screw. Right, that was our task here. Please mind the spelling in number 3. There is a typo. There is a typo there in the book. Hangar should be Hangar and not spelled with ER, as you see right here. But it will be a good test of me checking who's actually listening to the instructions as well. So we will see. Right. Okay. The questions? Any questions? Safe? No questions? All right. Then let's move on to the next one here. Eurotunnel freight runs all freight services through the Channel Tunnel. Okay, read the text and answer the questions to complete the fact sheet on maximum dimensions from the diagrams. These will be the next couple of slides. Again, take a minute to read the text and we will start with the answers. And if you prefer for me to read the text so you can listen to it, then let me know and I will read it out loud. All right. Questions. How long does the train journey take through the Channel Tunnel? 35 minutes. Which is more expensive, a crossing by tunnel or by ferry? A crossing by tunnel. What kinds of loads cannot be taken through the tunnel? Containers, unaccompanied trailers, and large abnormal loads. What are two advantages of using the tunnel? More departures and quicker loading and unloading. What is one disadvantage of using the ferry? Okay, two more there. Delays or cancellations due to weather and only one departure per hour. What's the next one? Okay, excellent. Next one here, still related to the Eurotunnel reading. Here we've got Eurotunnel freight must not be heavier than lorries 18.95 meters, must not be larger than. Number 3, must not be higher than 4.2 meters. Lorries must not be wider than. Okay, must not be wider than. The ferry, the length limit depends on the individual ferry. The height limit for lorries is 4.8 meters. The width limit is 6.7 meters. And the weight limit for standard lorries is 44 tons. Okay. So height limit, width limit, and weight limit were your answers in 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, let's move on to our next topic, still related to comparing things, and this will be mobile phones, the different features. There was a listening task which we have completed in the class. So once again, as always, we are not going to spend much time on it since I won't be able to play the audio right here. So these were two tasks that we had to complete. Okay, instead, let's take a look at some words here, okay, related to phones. So here we have dimensions, weight, screen size, capacity, battery, charging time, and features. And what we will have to do is match the words and the questions. So, what's the diagonal distance across the screen? Oh, we are going the other way. Other way around. Dimensions means what are its measurements. So weight is of course how much does it weigh. See, screen size will be the diagonal distance across the screen. Capacity is how many gigabytes does it have. Battery will be how long the battery lasts. Charging time is, where is this one? How long does it take to recharge the battery fully? So that's B. And features, surprise, surprise, no other options there. E. What other things are in the specs, in the specifications? Okay, different features of a phone. Now, let's see if we can now compare the different types of phones right here, classic and phonorama. These are just these fictional made up phone names. So what's the difference between the classic and the phonorama phones? Well, the phonorama is much thinner than the classic. It's only 9.7 millimeters thick. I see. And what about the height? The phonorama is much something than the classic. It weighs only 94 grams. Lighter, of course. That will be lighter. What about screen size? Much smaller, only 72 millimeters across. I prefer a bigger screen size. I want to watch movies on it. I will order the classic. Okay, good. 12 GB one, please. Back in the days, of course, when 12 GB was okay. Or even 8. Right. And if you are if you happen to be reading it in 2026, then just replace GB with TB and it will be fine. All right. If we don't have any questions, then let us move on from phones to boats. This was another listening task comparing two different types of speed boats in a conversation. Again, listening task. task, so we're not going to spend much time on it. Instead, let's quickly move on to the superlative forms. Okay, now when you talk about superlatives, you're talking about the number one. Okay, the number one of, well, whatever you are comparing. Okay, so the noisiest, the biggest, the most expensive, the least noisy, the fastest, and so on and so on. Spelling rules will be the same, but instead of more, we will use most, and instead of er, we will add est at the end of the root word. One thing to keep in mind is, because we are talking about the one, the biggest, loudest, and so on and so on, we will always use the before these adjectives. Okay, so before the superlative forms, they always come with the biggest, the best, better than the rest. So one task here: complete the comparisons between the minimum. Okay. Can't really see the diagram very well, but you can, as always, take a screenshot and zoom in if you prefer. The legs of the MFP are much short, and then we need to use the correct form, of course, shorter, and are much cheaper to build than the cylinder of the spar. Now here, always read the entire sentence before you choose the correct word form. Then the cylinder of the spar at the end of the sentence lets you know that we are comparing things. Okay, and then when we are comparing things, when you see then, you know that you will have to use shorter and cheaper instead of shortest or cheapest. All the MFP wellheads are on the platform, while the spar wellheads are subsea. This means that oil production on the MFP is easier and safer, once again, than on the spar. However, it has few wellheads and procedures much oil than the spar. Okay, so then again, we will use fewer and less. Only a maximum of 12 crew members can stay on the MFP platform overnight in an emergency. The room is too, we will use with the base forms of the adjectives, too small for the crew to stay for a longer period. The spar platform is one of the, so here we see the, we will know we will have to use superlative, the largest platforms in the world, and can operate in the deepest waters in the world. On the other hand, the MFP is one of the most economical platforms in the world. Okay, this was our short task right here. What we take away from this task is the with superlatives. Okay, much with comparatives, much smaller, much lighter, much cheaper. Okay, and if you see then, you will also use comparative, cheaper than, smaller than, and it can be compared, you can use both with it. So this is much smaller than, much taller than, and so on and so on. Okay, but with superlatives, the deepest, the most economical, and the largest. Right, questions? Are you guys getting tired yet? Rashid? No? All right, then let's carry on. I think we've got one more slide here. Oh yes, just a quick vocabulary task. Okay, so a couple of new words here. 4x4, cab, clearance, cubic capacity, luggage, roof rack, steel rim, wheel, trailer, and wheelbase. Take a screenshot or open your workbooks and complete the diagram with the words. I will give you exactly 2 seconds for it. Right, and let's check your answers. Trailer is number 1, luggage is number 2, number 3 is cubic capacity for your luggage, of course. Number 4 is roof rack. Number 5 is the 4x4 badge on the car. Number 6 is steel rim wheels, and 7 will be the wheelbase, with 8 being clearance, and 9 is the cab itself. Okay, These words will be essential for our next task, but that will be in Unit 4. Okay, so for now, in today's session, what we've done is looked at dimensions, okay, height, width, length, and so on and so on. We looked at diagrams about restrictions related to height, width, and length, and we looked at comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. I hope you found it useful, okay? And if you don't have any questions, then I would say thank you for your attention. Have a lovely day, everyone, and I'll see you again in Unit 4 in the next video. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.